great to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Me too.
So, July 9th is a big all-star show.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about how all of this came together, how it was assembled, how it feels on a visceral level to be able to go into this gig.
Sure, sure. Um, I have been leading this monthly jazz jam since 2016. It existed before I led it. There was another leader. But anyway, at some point, I got this idea, maybe around 2021 or two, I don't know exactly, that we could pick, 10 of the outstanding, out of all the people that attend and play, we could pick 10 who had shown the qualities of being a great attitude, a great performer with good improvement, and frequent attendance. And we could give them their own concert. And we could do this once a year. And then we started doing it. Flushing went for the idea. And it's wonderful. We give them their own concert with a small honorarium. But the most thing is that it's an honor because each of those 10, picks two tunes that they want to do, and we accompany them. So it's not a jam, it's a well-prepared concert with a good audience.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like better than just going on with jam session. This is something special that
Yeah.
other jam sessions don't have.
Yeah, for sure. Keely, you have anything you want to add?
Oh, yes, it absolutely is. There are many jam sessions you can attend all over the place. But when they do this particular all-star concert, first of all, it's such an honor to be chosen. I've thanked Carol and the others, but I just feel like it's almost like home to go there. But when they create this particular concert, it's in a different part of the building where it's more formal. The tickets that are being sold, you have this incredible auditorium, and the whole vibe is very different, very receptive, very warm. And yeah, we are putting on a show more so than just jamming.
So talk to me a little bit about your collective history together playing and with Flushing. Kind of give me an overview a little bit.
Well, Carol's been playing, there for a while. I didn't come to Flushing until I want to say it was after COVID. They did a global mashup. Do you remember that, Carol?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we had people where Italy, I was in Florida at the time on the veranda of my hotel, and we all sang pieces of What a Wonderful World this would be. Remember that?
Yes.
Yes. And so they put it all together, all these different voices, all these different instruments, all these different people, and made this one song, which was incredible, actually. And that's how I first started with them. And then I came live to the building, I want to say 2023, maybe September or so. And that's when I really met Carol and the other musicians. And I can only tell you, they are, like I said, they're like family. They're so warm, so welcoming. Not like some jam sessions where there's a lot of competition, the competitive factors. Not like that at Flushing.
And I would like to add to that for Joe, that Keeley is an example of something that I think is very outstanding about this jam, which is that people come from far away to be in it. Keeley lives pretty far upstate.
About 40 minutes away.
And that's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot when you finish at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. But
So,
then the traffic is pretty easy to get back home.
right, right. But I think that's different maybe from some other jams too. I mean, I'm impressed. I'm impressed that people come from far away to do this.
It's worth the drive. There's a saying that says something like in church folks, they say a church alive is worth the drive, but really your place is worth the drive.
When you're talking about Kansas City, we're so spaced out. 40 minutes is like regular for people. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Our metro is one of the largest conglomerations county-wise in the country. I think Orange County in California is bigger. But yeah, there's always some kind of level. We just had a jazz fest in Lee Summit, the home of Pat Metheny. and a lot of musicians live in Midtown, live in, Kansas City or up north, and they got to drive, maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes to come in.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I guess it's all relative, but
Wow.
Well,
we're
Joe,
not
that's
dealing
Well, I
with
guess,
after.
what's that?
No, I was just going to say, Joe, that's after the jam. Going
Yeah,
to the jam, okay,
yeah,
when, everyone's out, can be like an hour and a half or so.
yeah. Well, and we don't have to deal with the traffic
gotcha.
you do, so that's another thing. Kansas City traffic's different for sure. Um, so let me ask you this: how did the journey into the music, and more specifically jazz, how did it begin for you, each collectively or each separately, I should say?
Keely, you can say it first if you want.
Okay, sure. I mean, as a child, I mean, I was always listening to my father play all the big bands. He loved jazz, but he liked the Duke Ellington, Count Basie, all the big band songs, Doris Day, Sarah Vaughan, Ellis. So I grew up listening to that, and whereas my mother, she liked more like pop and R&B, contemporary songs. So getting a little bit of mixture of all of that, and then my older siblings would always play the dance tunes. So all of that kind of mashed up, but jazz was always my favorite. And so once I became of high school age, I auditioned for this high school, the High School of Music and Art at the time in New York City. And if you've ever seen the movie Fame, that's kind of like the sister school of that. Now it's a combined unit, but at that time it was separate. And once I got in there, I started to think a little bit more seriously about it and began to do session work, and that was really really cool, so ended up singing with some people who were pretty notable, like Lenny White, Bobby Militello, which was introduced by Rick James, and just enjoyed doing the session work more so actually than live. I enjoyed the session work. Yeah, and so I just continued, but then there was a time where you realize it's either feast or famine, and I like to eat on a regular basis. So I utilized some of my other skills, which was tutoring. And I had a business degree, but I also acquired my teaching degree and began to do that. So 3 years ago, just before coming to Flushing, I retired from that. And that's when I started doing music more so live full time.
Okay.
That's very interesting because I also noticed that a lot of participants in the jam, even though they have a wide variety of professions, I don't even know all of them. I know there's an architect who comes regularly. There's who's in the All Star and so forth. But a lot have just retired recently. That is an interesting thing in common. And and there are several who have been teachers. Um, Keeley, I have to say, I mean, I would think that she was a therapist. I mean, she's so full of humanity that it's a pleasure to work with her. And I would have sworn that she was a therapist. She has a wonderful way of connecting with other people.
Oh, thank
Now, if you want to know about did you want to know about my music background
Of
too?
course. Yeah. How
Okay.
did Nexus begin for you?
Okay. I was born into a family of musicians, quite good, sort of Chicago style jazz in Boston. My father, my uncle, my brother, my other brother, everybody, even our ancestors way back, played music. And I grew up with a lot of listening, exposure, clubs, jam sessions, everything, even from very, very young age. And I knew how to recognize certain players on the recordings. I went into biology, which was my real passion as a kid. I loved birds, watching birds, collecting insects, and I went into the biological sciences to become a science writer. And between my third and fourth year of a very fancy college, I decided to abandon that and go into music. And I picked up the flute, and I wanted to play jazz right away since I knew jazz. And my parents just exploded. They had saved for years to send me to the school to be anything except a musician.
you.
So it was quite a trek, it was quite a path to follow, very, very difficult. And that's what I've done ever since. And I used different skills to support myself. And at a certain point, after I picked up sax, which is later, I got asked to be in a band, which was I had thought about a lot. I was really trying to find out more about this band and how to contact them. And I just stumbled on them. And they were called Latin Fever. It was the first all-female band ever. And so that they took me as a tenor player, and I moved right down to New York to join that band. And just about the first gig we did was the Salsa Festival at Madison Square Garden. So it's been a journey since then. I mean, I've just always tried to support myself when I couldn't do it with music. I used all my skills. And then I began teaching, and I became very, very fond of teaching individual lessons. And I formed my own little business to do gigs, weddings, and parties, and so forth. And I founded my own big band. And then, as far as Flushing, in 2016, Clyde Bullard, whose father was one of the founders of Flushing Town Hall, gave my name to Gabrielle Hamilton, who's a director of many things, public education and many other departments at Flushing Town Hall, to contact me as they were looking for a new leader for the jam. And I was very, very pleased. I had an interview, and it was a really good fit, the way they described it to me. And some of my skills are that I'm a good organizer, and I enjoy organizing. And that's, I think, one of the things you do need to lead a good jam. So that's where it started, and I have loved it ever since, Joe.
So the one thing about Flushing and just in general about the live music environment is that you have the opportunity to create this memorable experience for everybody that comes in to see you perform. So take me back to the first performance, first live show, jazz or otherwise, that you saw that launched 1,000 dreams for you, that made you think either I want to be up there or you absolutely fell in love with the music.
Well, I think when I was really young, I just heard the recordings. But when I was getting into like 12, 13, 14 years old, maybe, we had jam sessions at my house. I mean, people came to these jam sessions who later became huge celebrities, like Roger Kellaway. I mean, certain names that were just unbelievable. Dick Wetmore, who played flugelhorn and violin, just some beautiful, beautiful players. And I think it was from there. I think those players, they would be on the lawn just playing in this wonderful jam session, or indoors if it wasn't good weather. But I mean, some incredible musicians. And I was just right in the middle of it. So I would say it started there.
How about you, Keeley?
Well, again, around that same age, 12 and 13, some of the girls in the neighborhood, we would get together and pretend we were the Supremes, the Diana Ross and the Supremes, that sort of thing. And of course, use our hairbrush for a microphone, that sort of thing, and, sing. But there were shows that we did, different talent shows in the neighborhood at the community centers they would have. And so we would do that sort of thing too. And later on in college, by that time, I knew I was singing, and they would have telethons, that sort of thing. And some people would come to me and say, "Oh, Keeley, come on, we've got to enter this so we can win." And usually we did, but it was always fun to just get together and make music. I didn't have the privilege of having a musical family. We were listeners, but not actually musicians. But it was always there were always people around me who appreciated music and always appreciated me singing. So I would just sing and do it just for the joy of it. And constantly, even in church, would find myself behind a microphone. I like singing with people, but constantly singing solos. And I say, what am I doing here? I like singing with people, harmonizing. But again, it is what it is, and you're just glad to be a part of the music.
I remember when Keeley participated in the song that she was describing, when she was in Florida, and I picked her out and I contacted her. And she had this unusual name, Keeley. And I remember writing to you, Keeley, and just complimenting you so much and wondering how we would continue to hear you sing, and trying to include you after that on
I
the.
appreciated that. I appreciated that because the song, because it was a global mashup, it wasn't necessarily in the desired key that I wanted to sing in. I had to sing so high. I was singing out of my eyelashes. That's how high it was.
And
But it worked.
it did, and very well. And we continued the jam during the pandemic by going virtual. And then we had more participation from all over the world.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What was the first stage that you performed on where you were like, you dreamed of being on that stage, you finally did it? Did you have a moment like that early on?
For me or for
For
Keeley?
both of you?
I think that the Madison Square Garden. I mean, I don't think I ever dreamed about it because I never dreamed that it would happen. But that was a thrill. I mean, I walked out on stage, Joe, and I don't need, I mean, I could hardly remember to play because I looked around and there were 10,000 people there. And for me, I was green. I came from Boston, and I never saw anything like that. I just was staring at the audience and I had to pinch myself. So it was a high point.
I can say for me, again, when we graduated from the High School of Music and Art, the graduation was held at Carnegie Hall.
Okay.
So we were on that stage, and I remember standing there saying, wow, this is an awesome place, just to look at beautiful place. And although I can't say that I ever desired to be on the stage singing, I just wanted to be a part of the music. That's really what it boiled down to. So even at this point, the local college here, they have an ensemble that I'm a part of. And whenever we do anything, I'm just there. It's not so much just being on the stage. That is something that's nice to look at the audience, but I don't particularly look at any one person in particular because sometimes that can throw me off. But it's just the entire atmosphere, the electricity that's in the air, you can feel it. And the same thing is true at Flushing. When you're there in front of them, you can feel the warmth, you can feel the reception, of the
And
audience.
I wanted to comment on that too, because I think this makes a lot of difference to the musicians who participate. And I have noticed that, what Keeley was saying before about giving these people their own concert, 10 people, their own concert, they're taking it very seriously. And it's like a step, not so much for Keeley, because you've had experience before, but a real step up for several of these participants. And I have noticed several of them publishing on Facebook and so forth, saying, I'm so honored that I've now been asked to be in this all-star concert. And it's like, rather than just going to jam sessions, which is already a good thing, now it's like, okay, my own concert. And that will push everyone a little bit further into the world of their second career, if you will, as a musician.
Yeah,
Am
well,
I
I have to
making
say,
sense? Am I making
yes,
sense?
absolutely. But I have to tell you, even though I have had professional experience for decades, being retired now 3 years is very different. I mean, I'm really concentrated more
Right,
so than I've ever been,
right.
and and it is truly an honor to be a part of that whole scene. I'm floored.
And can I say some other things about it? I mean, first of all, just like the jams, we have excellent, excellent technical staff to do sound, set up the stage, do everything, lighting, everything for us. And that's one of the ways that it's different from other jam sessions, too. You have to fight the conditions of many jam sessions. You
True.
don't always have a microphone. If you do, it doesn't always work. There's a lot of noise. There's never enough
True.
light. You don't always have a music stand for your music. So that's a very notable thing about Flushing, about both the jams and the concert, the All-Star
Hmm.
concert.
Hmm.
Does that make sense, Joe?
Oh yeah, totally. So, the one thing too, being a jazz musician is there's so many different configurations of musicians that you get involved with on a regular basis. But coming back to Flushing and being a part of this outfit, what's the energy like? What does it mean? What are the musicians? How are you feeding off of each other? Why is it so special?
Okay. I can say my point of view. First of all, the rhythm section is super, super professional. They're musicians that everybody wants to play with. I mean, really, really wonderful, sophisticated jazz players. And secondly, the audience is like very faithful, incredibly supportive. I mean, so supportive. You never hear a negative comment. You never hear anybody not applauding. It just doesn't happen. That, you know, they're very supportive. They come back month after month, and they make everybody feel great. And the vibe is very supportive between the musicians, helping each other, encouraging each other. I've never seen anyone go up to anyone else and say, get off the stage, you can't play, you sound lousy, you're out of tune. Nothing.
Yeah, the house band, Carol, Joe, the piano player, Scott, the drummer, and Eric, the bassist, they are incredibly professional. And so anyone coming up there with tiny bit of skill or great skill, they make them feel very welcome, very professional, and they carry them into completing the tune, whatever it is that they're coming up with. They really do. They're very good at that.
It's true.
So at the end of the day, this is a question for both of you. Everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone that you play on the bandstand with, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Me?
Both of you, yeah,
Oh, both of
respectively.
you. Okay. So I'm kind of the, uh, I mean, um, uh, as a musician, it's not my role at that jam session to be on the center stage. The house band plays a couple of tunes at the beginning, and then I step back. I play a solo now and then, and I make sure that everybody gets a chance to play. I'm the organizer. That everyone gets a chance to play, that they feel good, that they play a tune that they want to play, that nobody steps on anyone's toes, and that nobody gets left out. So, and I kind of, if anyone gets lost in the music as they're on the microphone, I try to sneak in a few notes on my flute to help them get back on track without making it too obvious.
Yes, I've seen you do that, and again, done very well, very tactfully. You know, for me, I mean, as the singer coming up there, again, I never actually wanted all that attention, but you are being the attention. But for me, when my attitude is, I'm the person who's driving this magic carpet, so to speak, and I want you to be a passenger on it and take this ride with me. So that's, yes, I am very welcoming. I want you to feel that you're welcome. I want you to feel the that you're part of the music, even if you're not a musician per se, but that just you being a listener is pulling you in and letting you take this ride with all of us.
That's a very nice image. I have never heard the magic carpet image. That's beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
So if the concert is July 9th, 7 p.m., Jazz Jam All-Stars concert. If anyone wants to get tickets, they want more information, any of the good business, where do they go? And for you, each of you respectively, for your careers, where do people go?
Oh, I see. Well, first of all, the Flushing Town Hall website, flushingtownhall.org or whatever, you can pretty much do everything there. It's pretty user friendly. So they're going to get their tickets there. And it is very good idea to get tickets in advance. I mean, venues always appreciate that because they get an idea of how successful it's going to be. And, then you're assured of a good space and everything. And how I would be reached, I see what you're saying. I mean, I think that through well, Facebook and my website, which is just my last name, sudhalter.com.
Okay.
And I'm available to play classical music, jazz, events, jam sessions, house concerts. I love doing house concerts. Whatever. I mean, I'm pretty old now. I'm 82. So I'm just getting into a whole different phase of my life.
But she's a
I,
young 82. She's a young
Absolutely, you
82.
are. I get it. I totally get it.
I wouldn't do a double. I would never do a double, meaning 2 gigs in one day. Those days are gone for me. But I certainly love performing.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'm always, if I'm singing, always wanting to get her to have a solo within my song.
Thank you for that.
Um, yeah, so yeah, getting the tickets from Flushing Town Hall on their website is great. They also have, I think they show things on Instagram as well. I
It
know,
is going to be streamed also.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
And I think that that will be available on the website under Culture Stream.
okay. And
yeah.
and I will put all of these links in the show notes. Keely, Carol, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for just opening up your world to your music world, and have a wonderful concert on July 9th and beyond.
Thank you
Yeah.
so
Thank you
much,
so
Joe.
much,
This
Joe.
was
Nice to meet you.
wonderful.
Yeah, it was wonderful to meet
We're
you.
pretty much covering the whole world here.
Yeah, right. Yes, we are.